Hello and welcome to Leashed Dad's podcast. That is Justin.
Hello, I'm Justin, and that's Jared.
We are two dads that get together to discuss our everyday lives while chained to our parental responsibilities. And tonight, we're doing the scariest moments as parents. You know, things that we still to this day cannot forget. Having children is pretty damn scary because their lives pretty much depend on you. So, pretty
Yeah,
much.
it's a little messed up. Well, it's not messed up. That's just parenting, right? Children being children, they certainly do depend on you. But scariest moments or experiences. I think it would be a very interesting topic. I don't. I thought of it as I was at work. Honestly, just one of those things when you'd asked about what topics do you have. I'm like, And then something came in my mind where I'm like, yeah, this is pretty scary. Or just one of those uneased moments where two parents or mom and dad had brought their infant who just started teething into the dental office because they had fallen. And basically their first baby tooth had to be pulled or extracted because they had fallen and done some serious damage. Like it was out, basically coming out. There was no way to put
Dang.
that back. Yeah. So at first I thought, okay, I saw like the parent or mom and dad hugging each other, and I'm like, oh boy, this is not good. What's going on, right? I'm like, this is going to be a shitty feeling if our dental office basically something terrible happened to the kid, right?
Yeah.
While in the dental office. No, that wasn't the case. I had talked to there's somebody that I work with that does sterilization, and she basically told me that mom and dad brought the kid in. The kid had fallen and gotten hurt to the point that they had to extract the tooth. My heart was relieved. I mean, that's a scary moment.
Oh, for
Like
sure.
it's a scary moment as a parent. I'm sitting here going, I see two parents kind of like sitting there sobbing because they've never experienced this before. Right? This is definitely their first child. They've never experienced some sort of traumatic injury like this. And I would probably be in panic mode too. Um, with if that was my first child ever, and shit, something like that had happened. But
Yeah.
honestly, I thought my mind kind of went somewhere else. I see mom and dad sobbing or crying like no other, and I could have sworn it's like the child had passed, which would really suck in a dental office. But thankfully, that was not the case. So that's kind of what inspired this. I mean, that story I just shared with you had happened a while ago, but it was something that had just triggered my head when you asked me about topics tonight or for this. I'm like, what do I talk about? What should we talk about? And then I'm like, okay, well, I've had some other experiences, maybe not as scary, but kind of like a where are my children?
Yeah.
Because we can definitely get into that, but that's really some of those things have just triggered um, the topic, and I'm like, oh, this would be great because truthfully, we haven't talked about this before, and I want
Right.
to be exposed if you're not already exposed to some of the scary shit that you can experience, especially those new parents um, that are out there looking for a community or something. You new parents definitely should, as much as we're not like counselors or anything like that, we do provide our experiences for you to kind of understand what we've gone through, what to maybe start expecting or consider down the road. Um, but we're also out here for other parents that just are looking for a community to get involved in, right? So welcome to Leash Dad's podcast. We want to make sure you and everybody else can feel connected while you're chained to your everyday responsibilities.
Very well said. That I apologize. I have some spinal issues, so
Spinal issue. Sounds like you need to go see a masseuse
I need to see a chiropractor, but
or a chiropractor.
those kind of cost money. Anyway, what is? I mean, we don't have to do a ranking, but what is the one thing we could do it even per child if you want? The one thing that sticks out in your mind from being one of the most or experience that you'll never forget with your child. What scared you the most? With we'll just start. Has Eleonora scared you yet?
Oh, has Eleanor scared me yet? Has Eleanor scared Sam yet? Um, I feel at this point, not really.
Okay. Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, she did have one moment where, while I was working on like tearing down our garage here recently, um, because we had a tree fall on it. If you didn't know, I don't remember if I told you that or not. But folks, I had a tree recently fall in my garage. Took out my van, took out the garage.
oh, that's why you
Uh,
need a new car.
yeah,
Oh,
didn't just
okay.
didn't just trade it in and got a new vehicle. No, I got 10 grand, basically 10 grand for a new vehicle. Um, More or less, I got 13 grand from insurance,
Right.
um, and a good port or like 2 grand of that went towards paying off my loan, which is really sad because that loan would have been paid off in March of 2025. So it was a bittersweet moment. But I got a
Yeah.
2017 Pacifica, which is really nice. It's like the top end of the Pacificas, so like a very luxurious model, which is great. But I got that basically for 18. The dealer was selling it for 18,995. Put 10 grand down on it. Still had to pay like still paying like 13 grand overall essentially. But I am paying a lot less than I anticipated. But that's because I also put down 10 grand towards the vehicle
Well,
already.
right. Right.
So
No, that's a sweet ride. I drove one of those in California. It the transmission kind of was took me a while to get used to with the little dial next to
yep,
the volume speaker.
yeah.
I
I remember.
had this good song. Oh,
Oh, I hit the wrong thing. Sorry guys for the parking problem.
yeah, right. I wrote the transmission.
Yep. No, Sam's Ford Fusion at one point had that too.
Okay.
So she had like the little knob. So I'm used to it. Um, my mom's Honda Odyssey, which is like a 23 or 24 or something like that. It's got like the transmission on that central area, like right underneath the screen and all the climate control and all that. And it's a park up there. The layout is so weird. It's like push a button to park, pull a little bit or kind of pull down on it to go in reverse.
Oh
And then
yeah,
there's like, yeah,
that's what
it's
ours
not a
has.
knob. It's not a little shift on the steering wheel or anything. It's not like
It's a button.
it's literally buttons.
Yep.
It's so weird. It's like, what are you guys gonna come up with next? Okay, van, go and park. Click,
Yeah.
click. Voice activated.
Side tangent. I do the Odyssey has got to be my favorite car I've ever owned. But Honda, you need to make the paint on those transmission buttons more heavy duty
Yeah, they
because
wear
it
away
has
so
like
fast.
a little over 40,000 miles and it's almost completely gone.
Yeah, my mom's is only at like 30,000 miles right now,
Yeah.
and the DA/S for the drive is practically disappearing
Yeah.
already. Park is fine,
It's like,
neutral is
Jesus.
fine, reverse is
Right.
fine, but it's the fact that every time you push that DS button,
Right.
it wears away. Like the oils just eat away at it.
Yep.
So Honda, we're not
So
bashing you by any means. We're just
nope,
asking you
hell
to.
no. In fact, I'm a Honda fanboy. Honda
Oh,
make me even happier.
I love Honda too. It's just I didn't want to go down the same line my parents, and not to mention,
Oh yeah,
you know, like I said, I love Honda. Honda's great. I drove my mom's van for a little bit while I was in search for a new vehicle. Um, I they are just on the high end, right?
yeah. They're more expensive than a
The
Pacifica would
Odysseys are
be.
definitely on the
Yeah.
top tier by all
Yep.
means. So kudos to you. If I could definitely afford it, I would. I was strongly considering a Odyssey at one point, um, but I really liked my Town and Country or my Chrysler Town and Country because it was a 2014 and it had some good features already. Um, but this Pacifica, it's just kind of continue. It is the exact same thing as the Town and Country. Just I think in 2016 is when they stopped making Town and Country, but they changed the name to like Pacifica.
Yeah. Yep.
Just like
Yep.
the Subaru Ascent nowadays, they used to be Subaru Tribeca.
Yeah.
So they're slowly like phasing out and changing up the names just to refresh it essentially. But
Yeah.
um, I loved my Town and Country, so I wanted to stick with that model. It's got some great features. The kids can keep themselves entertained with like movies, whatnot. Um, so if and it's got the stow and go seats, which is what I would really like, rather than like the Odyssey there in a comparison. Odyssey, you have to pull out the seats if you want to make
Yep.
room. So
Yep.
nothing wrong by any means.
Well, we
Just
got really lucky because
a
we
little bit
got
for
the
me.
van right before the economy tanked.
Yeah.
So we had like a freaking 5% rate,
Dang.
and it was cheap.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm sitting at like 10%, which is not. Yeah, I'm only making like two hundred
Could be
eighty two
worse.
dollars. Yeah, I think somebody told me the percent had dropped a little bit or it started going down,
It's
but
going down.
yeah, it's slowly going down. But I only have to pay like $282 a month.
That's not bad, dude.
No,
That's pretty
it's really
good.
great compared to what I was looking at, which I was looking at originally making like 320 a month or whatever, um, or trying to figure out what I was really going to start making, knowing that I was able to walk away with a $10,000 down payment, and then only making $282 a month. That's great. I'm saving money at that point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's great. But like I said, while working on the tree or the garage, more or less, um, my daughter was inside the house and grandma was with her a little bit, and she had fallen down the stairs. She had like I guess a little blood on her shirt or something like that. Um, but she had gotten like the little attachment to the gum, like on the lip, that kind of came disconnected. So
Ow.
it wasn't like too severe or anything like that. I guess we never really took her in. Um, so I wouldn't say I've had any noteworthy or memorable experiences yet with her that were scary. Um, but there are definitely some other ones with like Nico and Arlo for sure. Um, that we can definitely get into here. But what about you? What about your? Do you have any with your youngest, Cora?
Aside from being like really, really sick and a high fever, like you're up all night worrying about her for sure. And I don't know, it's when you'll understand when you guys are parents and your child is like really, really sick and you're trying everything your damnedest just to keep the fever at bay and to keep them hydrated is a pain in the ass because they
Yeah,
don't want to drink anything and they hate Pedialyte. So it's just, you worry. And it is scary because last thing you want to do is have a hospital run at 3 o'clock in the morning because it's over 104 or something and won't go down. So, um, but they've scared me together more than individually, where they're playing too rough or they're playing not smart, and they end up one of them ends up getting hurt. One I can think of is that when I was on a work call like 2 years ago, so Cora was about two, they were fooling around down here, and it's a concrete floor down here, and they climbed on something and literally fell off onto the concrete, and I think they and bumped their head from like 2 feet off the ground.
Oh yeah, I can understand that being kind of a scary moment.
They were all right, but yeah, I, thankfully work I got reprimanded for it, so yeah.
You got reprimanded for that. That's great. Thanks,
Yep,
guys.
I got a call from HR 2 days later. So we have a zero tolerance policy. Okay, well,
Pay for
they
my
just
daycare.
came downstairs as the meeting was ending, and they fell on the concrete with their skulls. So, yeah, okay,
Cool.
yeah,
Thanks to thanks thanks to for your understanding that you allow a work from home situation but expect no children to be around. Yeah. Anyways.
anywho,
Yeah. So with Nico, I think one of the scariest experiences here thus far is actually the idea that him and Allie kind of share a similar story. Okay. Nico had fallen down the stairs or fallen up the stairs. Something had happened, but he actually had blood coming from his mouth. Um, he had a decent amount of blood coming from his mouth, where at one point you looked at him and you saw like a metallic look in the blood. And this metallic look in the blood is not exactly something I would ever think of or know about. Um, it brought us to concern that we took him to the ER that night because we honestly thought that something metal may have gotten into his mouth.
what was it?
It was like a mixture of the saliva and everything, so
Oh,
nothing really. It was just, yeah, it was just the saliva and the blood kind of mixing together in such a weird way. I guess that from what I remember, that's what they told us. So it wasn't anything in his mouth, but it's like at that point, Sam and I are like, yeah, we're not really, we're not those parents that are like, let's rush him into the hospital or anything like that because everything happens. Where's that
yeah,
arrow? Uh, anyway, it doesn't really matter. One of the kids we had ended up saying, yeah, we're not really like those parents that are always like, let's get him in, get him in, get him in because he's sick or something or like that. This was one of those like, we don't know what's actually in his mouth now, and this was before I was an assistant,
yeah.
so it's that was kind of scary because if something metal had gotten in his mouth, he had fallen on our stairs. Where the hell did that metal come from? Like, where did that metal? Maybe it was a staple that had somehow gotten lodged into it. Oh God, can't even think about that. That's just disturbing. If it was like a staple from the carpet, I would have been like, oh shit. Yeah, it would have been very distasteful, essentially. Poor pun. Um, but um, that was kind of the scariest thing with him there because he's not very good with anything that's blood. It's kind of like now, at least nowadays, where he's 5 years old. If he starts bleeding, he's losing his mind. Essentially, he's like, "The world is coming to an end. I'm dying. I'm dying. Ah, there's blood everywhere." Um,
Yeah, that's what kids do.
not all kids. Some are a little more dramatic than others.
Yeah, mine are really dramatic when it comes to blood.
Yeah, I think it is what it is. But he, at least we know that he's all of a sudden bleeding, right? Like even a bloody nose, for example, he'll be like, I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding. Arlo, on the other hand, gets a bloody nose. Is like, I got a bloody nose. Shoves Kleenex up his nose. So, unfortunately, Arlo is the
When you
one
have them
that's
enough, it becomes.
it becomes second nature, basically, and
Damn
that's the
it!
problem. That's what I was about to say. Is like Arlo, it's become like a second nature to him because he's had so
Right.
many bloody noses. I'm like, it makes me a concerned parent here, knowing that it might be like the air quality or something for him. But at one point, it's like it had concerned the teachers because he'd gotten a bloody nose in school, and they're like, it just won't stop. And they were showed me the garbage, like the amount of Kleenex that he had gone through within the garbage can in the nurse's station. I'm like, they basically sent him home
Well,
because of it.
yeah, loss of blood.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't done anything to this day because they do stop. It's not, but it's like, how frequent does it become? It became pretty frequent. It was kind of a little scary, not gonna lie. Um, but that's definitely not the scariest moment that I've had with Arlo. Nico, again, the scariest moment was him falling up the stairs, basically, and seeing that metallic-y silveryness within it, mixture within like the mouth or the blood and everything. Um, just because who knows what actually happened. Uh, Never knew that saliva and blood could create that type of substance. So, thankfully, none of his teeth were out of line. He had a little bit of lacerations across his gums and everything that have obviously um, went away and healed. So, nothing too concerning. Um, Teeth are fine. He's now just saying, when am I losing my teeth? Or am I losing my teeth yet? I'm like, no, you will get there when you get there. Because Arlo's started losing some more teeth. So now he's like, when do I lose my teeth? So um, it's cute, but also annoying.
Yeah,
So
every
um,
child is different. It'll happen when it happens.
exactly. All children are certainly different. But um, I guess I can share Arlo's right away too, unless you want to share Eleanor's.
No, I really don't have, besides falls and stuff,
Oh, okay.
and sicknesses. No.
Yeah. So Arlo, scariest moment here. During winter, he's outside playing on the playground at school. I think, Jared, I think we've talked about this a couple times, and but this is truly one of those scariest experiences out there. Um, Arlo had fallen during winter while climbing up the jungle gym or jungle equipment, fallen from 7 feet basically, and hit his head on the wood pile. Um, that's pretty scary. If you can, if you as parents know where I'm going with this already, how scary that can be. Um, he had gone to we had brought him home after getting a phone call from the school. Basically suggested to take him to, a doctor and whatnot. So we took him to the ER and everything, had him checked out, and they basically just told us to put him on concussion protocol. Make sure he doesn't actually fall asleep or become drowsy or anything like that. Just kind of ask him some questions throughout the day. Um, asking him kind of like the simple questions: what's your name? How old are you? Who am I? Like, to him, what school do you go to? What's your teacher's name? Things like that. Um, just in case if something does become foggy or doesn't actually know his own name or something like that. Now we got to do something. Um, but yeah, he over time he was fine. It was like a 24-hour watch basically. Um, but I would never. I mean, I know people go through it. I would never wish it upon anybody to really go through hearing, let alone hearing about your child falling 7 foot from a jungle gym, getting scratches on the face and hitting your head. That to me isn't fun. Now, granted, he's not I mean, I think that experience might have caused him to be a little afraid of heights and things of that nature. What child wouldn't be traumatized by something like that?
Right.
Unless you're like a stone cold child. But I don't know. I think as a child, I would have been a little traumatized. Hell, I was traumatized as a child once when I was swimming and almost drowned. Um, it took me a while to want to get back in the water. It took me a while to gather up the courage to jump off a diving board into the deep end. Eventually, I did it at a friend's party. It was a swimming party, and all the kids were just jumping off the diving board and swimming to the edge, getting out. I'm like, all right, I got nothing. I've got safety basically. I can jump to the edge of the swimming pool. Jump to the edge first, not like onto the cement or anything, but jump to the water, and then swim to the edge, and not worry about drowning again. So I eventually conquered my fear of that. Obviously, ended up taking swim lessons as well to help out. But yeah, I mean, so Arlo's scariest experience as a parent was the fact that he basically was put in a concussion protocol because he fell um, from that 7 foot drop uh, and landing on his head and whatnot. So I think everything could have ended up worse, but
Yeah.
thankfully it did not. Um, uh,
Well,
Kane.
now that I think about it, another thing that was pretty scary was right after Cora was born. She's still in the hospital and everything else. It's COVID. I'm at home. I couldn't go back to the hospital after I left, and I had to take care of Eleanor. Well, the doctor's sitting here saying, what? We are concerned that she has spina bifida. It's like, wait. What? Yeah, we're gonna run a bunch of tests, and we're gonna find out if if it's true or not. Come to find out, it wasn't. They were just talking out of their ass and scared the living daylights out of us. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't comfort my wife. She was in the hospital,
And you couldn't go
and
back
I
in,
was
right?
just, huh?
You couldn't go back in at all?
No, I couldn't go back in, and also too when Eleanor was little, she had a hip dysplasia as well,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was really scary because she had to wear a brace, like a hard plastic brace
Yep.
for like 6 7 months, and then the traumatizing nature of like the full body x-rays too, when you're a year old and there's this big heavy machine circling around. It was just traumatizing, and it was just so scary for her.
Yeah. I think.
And then you had to go every couple months to make sure the bones were growing properly, and they they did, thankfully, eventually, but there was a while there where they were just so slow in growth and everything. It was like, oh my god, is she going to
Mm-hmm.
be okay? Is she going to be able
Yeah.
to walk normally?
Yeah. No, I think, yes. If I remember, that was something that I learned too about Sam was that when she was younger, she also had hip dysplasia, which is, I think, one of the reasons why, as of now, like she has such problems with her hips too, or at least one hip, is because of it. Um, it's unfortunate, but it's just nothing you can really do.
Yeah.
Something happened, but um, no, we talk about those births and everything. Um, I can't to talk about Kane a little bit. I guess Kane's been is so accident prone. I think some of the big things he's gotten a few scars and stitches here and there already. So him just getting hurt, um, I think the big concern with him is just how he gets hurt. Like a while back when he was younger, he had hit his head on like a windowsill, things like that. So it's one of some of those things where he's getting hurt and how he's getting hurt. Um, just the next time, what's going to happen next? That's kind of the scariest thing right there. Is what is really going to happen to him next? That's going
You
to
don't
be,
know.
yeah, exactly. And I don't think as a parent you can ever be ready for anything like that either. Even
No.
no matter how many children you have, like Kane being our eldest, I don't think that's going to matter. If he breaks a bone, great. I never was prepared for a child to break a bone. Um, if Arlo breaks a bone before him, great. No, I don't mean it in a
No, I get
positive
it.
aspect, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Great. It's just he's Arlo's all of a sudden the
I get
first
it.
child to break a bone in the family. But it is one of those things. Uh, the I would say some of the scariest thing or some other scary things that you brought up too, like hip dysplasia, for example. Um, both Arlo and Nico actually had jaundice. Uh, so did Allie, actually. she was on the radar for jaundice as well. But Arlo and Nico both had biliary lights to help with their bilirubin levels because they just
Oh
kept
yeah.
increasing so much. Um, Obviously, with them being in the hospital, Sam was in the hospital. It was very hard for her to breastfeed at first, I guess, for both of them, where it wasn't really helping and their bilirubin wasn't really coming out as much as, like, I think a normal baby would. Um, Granted, they were pooping, but I don't think they were pooping enough at that point either. Uh, I mean, I had a history of jaundice too. When I was a kid, I had jaundice,
Same.
or when I was a baby. So, um, but I
Pretty
don't know if
common.
I ever had to that level that they had, where at one point we were one of those kids. We were talking about, I think it was Arlo. Um, we were talking about having to do like a blood transplant or blood transfusion for him. It had gotten
Dang.
that it was that bad,
Wow.
or it was starting to go up that bad. So it's like, yeah, we might have to do that, and that was scary because I've never had that experience, and I didn't know what to expect. Sam's laying in the hospital, kind of doing her thing, recovering as well, and there was like these signs of just it felt like one bad thing after another, one
Hmm.
bad thing. We we tried to do vaginal birth. Uh, didn't happen. We had to do C-section for him. Um, so he's born early in the morning, basically. Uh, and then, like, I think it was 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that, if I recall.
Wow.
Uh, it was a pain in the ass. We went in at like 10 p.m. He didn't come out till like 3 o'clock in the morning because Sam wanted to try vaginal, but um, the epidural was not working, whatever whatsoever. Our anesthesiologist was a piece of shit.
Piece
He
of shit.
literally was a piece of shit. He had me sit down while he was injecting my wife when I was told that I could stand by her side. He's like, I need you to sit down. I'm like, fuck you, buddy.
Calm down there, guy.
Exactly.
You and your
But
power trip can go fuck off.
so, yep. I think it was Arlo that where we had that experience. We ended up having like a Billy Light, be able to bring home a Billy Light at one point. Um, had to do a lot, obviously had to do a lot more pricking and blood testing for him to see how his blood levels were doing. Um, Nico was very similar, but Nico's wasn't as bad. He still had the Billy Light as well. Um, he got over his pretty quick. Nora was good. We obviously knew to keep an eye on it. The doctors definitely kept an eye on it right away. Um, they were getting high, but they eventually leveled out as after the amount of time had passed for your infancy and
Okay.
everything. You know how they always keep track of how many hours your child is born and whatnot.
Yep.
They're like, well, yeah, so we'll just keep an eye on it. Come back and see us because she was born right around Christmas too. So we'd taken her in. I'd taken her in like a couple days before, or whatever. Looked at her blood levels and whatnot. Um, and everything was going. It was slowly increasing, but the doctor's like, well, okay, well, just we'll take a look after Christmas or whatnot or whatever it was, and we'll see how everything pans out. Um, but if it's basically plateaus, we don't have to really worry about it because of how many hours of birth being after birth and everything. So it was a good sign that she basically just plateaued rather than continue to increase, where we'd have to put her under a bilirubin light. Fuck,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but yeah,
I think that's a
some of
sign
those
we should.
those are some actually scary experiences, even as when you deal with jaundice and it can get to a severe, such a high severity, right? Um, for a child, that's scary.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Like, it doesn't
Liver
matter,
failure, if I'm correct, right?
liver failure, yeah.
Yeah.
Something's just not your. yeah, the liver's not processing like it should and whatnot. Um, or it's being overwhelmed essentially too
Yeah.
by everything.
It's not
So
working properly.
yeah, it's just not working properly. Let's just go with that. That's really what it is. It's not working properly. Um, it's a scary moment because you never know what you're gonna have to do in order to help your child um, get through that. I don't know what happened with me when I was a kid, but I remember my parents telling me I was jaundiced at for a little bit. Um,
Well, I think we're
so
all
that
right.
definitely it's I would say it's definitely a history thing though too, or a family history medical thing. Um, I don't necessarily always share that with the doctors or anything, except for when it's necessary, like when having children
Yeah.
or just before. But uh, I feel like some of these not like there are still some scary experiences out there. Um, and some of these that had stirred up a little bit too, where like your kids go silent and you call out their names and they don't answer you. Like you expect
Or you
them to
look in the
be,
yard and they're not there.
yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But I've done that. I've done that. I'm like, okay, I call out to my children, they don't answer. It's daylight, whatever. I expected them to be inside, for example, for some reason. Then all of a sudden I don't hear them, so I'm like, okay, maybe they're outside playing with the neighbors or whatnot. Nope, nope. Don't see them, don't hear them, nothing. Because usually, like, I'm in a neighborhood where I can usually hear the kids, no matter where
Yeah.
they're at. Um, Nothing. So I'm like, oh, flippity doo where'd they go? Um, even so, like, I have gone into their room and called out their names, and they don't respond. And long and behold, eventually they come out of their room and they're like, "Yeah, I was under the bed." I'm like, "I called you and you didn't respond." It's like, yeah, they just chose not. They basically chose to selective hearing, right? They chose
Right.
not to answer me at all, and they were too busy with their tablet. Which is funny because sometimes they'll have the volume up on the tablet where I can hear it. I couldn't hear it at all. So I was listening for any type of sign of where are my children. That's a scary experience when you can't find them, especially when you expect them to be around your house or whatnot. Um, but it certainly happens. I advise as new parents, or you know experienced parents too, if you haven't necessarily experienced this yet, just keep an eye out for your children. Just because you're calling out their name, they may have decide to do selective hearing. Um, if if you expect them to be inside, maybe just put a little more effort into looking around the house or looking around in their room. You never know where they might hide. It's really funny because actually one of my kids decided to hide up in a cabinet, where we put blankets, and they basically
Nice.
have to climb up their
Yeah.
furniture to get into it. And like, yeah, it was up there. I'm like, oh, freaking A. One was under the bed. One's hiding in the cabinet, like the blanket cabinet. It's like, yeah, little punks. You had me a little bit worried. So, that I would love to hear more scary experiences from parents, new parents. You may not have it, but if maybe you have this fear or this irrational or even rational fear that's kind of in your head as you become a new parent, uh, I would love for you to share that because I'm sure lots of people out there could definitely relate to those
Hmm.
experiences. And again, just want to make sure you guys know you're not alone. You as new parents, you're not alone. Uh, Existing parents already have every parent is different, right? Just like every patient or situation is going to be slightly different, but somewhat, or maybe you might have somewhat of a similar situation slash experience. So just wanted to say that. And if you haven't already, for you folks out there, I want to give Mr. Jared a nice little shout out again as he is continuing to work on his channel, Unlocking Jared Potential. He's coming out with some great videos. You can find him on YouTube. I think he's also releasing them on TikTok, right?
Somewhat, yeah. Jared D47 exclamation mark. Um, yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm just feeling the waters, just testing it out, seeing how it's going. I did have a few good successful videos on TikTok, and it's just hard finding the inspiration for both. I don't want to have the same content for each channel because I want somebody to be inspired by my TikTok and then find more, not the same, more on YouTube when
Right.
they follow the link. So
Yeah. Well, no, I just wanted to shout that out because I think it's really important to help
thank
you
you.
out there. Um, it's definitely it's content that needs to be recognized, and you know, you do have some very inspiring and very thought-provoking uh, videos out there. Um,
I
and so
appreciate that.
I say keep up the great work. You're doing a great job. I think you are getting a decent reach on your YouTube side of things here. Um, I don't know. I didn't have it. Obviously, I don't look at your analytics there, but
You don't want
um,
to.
no, I don't want to. Well, no, I
No,
kind of
that's
want
pretty
to.
sad.
It's reverse psychology. Now I kind of want to, but um, no, I want you folks to know that Jared's got his YouTube video or YouTube site, Unlocking Jared Potential, out there. Again, you can also follow him on TikTok, Jared147. No, 47. Sorry,
47, yep.
yeah, Jared47,
Jared
and then
D47.
yep. So, uh, do your thing, do your due diligence, folks. Let us know what you think about that. Also, if you want, videos have started coming out on TikTok here again, just like little snippets of our podcast here, um, of certain parts of the podcast, tidbits, whatever. Um, Watch those, help us out. You can find us on YouTube as well. Same content, nothing new. Um, if you didn't get to view it tonight here on Facebook or anything, you can follow it on YouTube. Uh, but we also want to hear from you. So if you have any thoughts or want to share some experiences by any means, or if you have any topics you want to hear about, let us know. Reach out to us, leashdads14 at gmail.com, LEASHEDDADS 14 at gmail.com. Jared, what was that?
Just jam into your rap, your email rap.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
guess I didn't even think about it. It was rapping. Drop a beat, bitch. Other,
LASHE.
look at that. He's slaughtering the rap. Thanks, Jared.
Yeah, sorry.
Otherwise, you guys can always hit me up to hit us up on TikTok. My Twitter is at Darthnomie, DARTHGNOMIE, and then at Jared, JARRED 47. Or is there? No, there's another D, right?
There's another D.
Yeah, there's another D. So JARREDD 47. Otherwise, you can always comment and whatnot as well. So, folks, without further ado, this is the Leash Dads podcast, staying true to our chained responsibilities and making sure dishes are getting done, children are going to bed, and boy, oh boy, Justin's hitting the sack. Have a great night.